I just finished a brief conversation, or one could say a proverbial fencing match with a friend, a dear friend. And she was trying to get me to prove my theory, my consciousness of when I say I am the Almighty, I am Source God consciousness. Of course, I can't prove it, not in this dimension, not as this dimensional being. Because she kept saying, prove that you're Almighty, create something right now, a new species, to show that you're Almighty. And I said, well, I've already created it. It's already done. But it's going to take 10,000 years to show up in this dimension of density because of time and space. And of course, she didn't quite buy it. That was too vague and too fuzzy. And it's not possible to explain to someone that has not tapped into source consciousness at the highest dimension. I have already created the next species, but it will take time to show up. It's in the future of what this planet will become. But because my friend is in the five sensory consciousness of the human, dense awareness, she was not able to see how I could be source because she's looking at me as a human. And in my human form, I cannot create a new species. In fact, humans don't create new things, they just use what's already created. But in my multidimensional self of Source God consciousness, because I don't identify as merely the human form, I identify as the Source consciousness that created the human form and then placed itself into this human form to experience limitations. Because my friend only sees the three-dimensional human limited form. Of course she's going to say you're not the Almighty. I'm not the Almighty in this dimension, on this level of awareness, no. But I am. I am the original source consciousness that created everything, or that manifested as everything. But the point of this video really is I am not trying to prove or disprove beliefs or experiences. I am more or less just concerned with, as I said to my friend, get my own ass through this life in the best way possible. And with the psychic ability and the understanding of consciousness and of my soul and the different layers, I have an understanding and an awareness and a consciousness whereby I can manipulate my own mind, because it is our mind with its concepts being played like a fiddle with frequencies, whereby we can either imprison ourselves or free ourselves. So I, with my consciousness, simply have learned to manipulate my own mind to not allow it to imprison me in a victim mentality. And so one way of doing that is by having the consciousness of source God awareness, source consciousness. It's not really a thing. It's the power, it's the force from which all things appear and manifest. But it itself is not really a thing. In having the awareness and identifying as that awareness, I can transcend the prison walls of my logical mental mind. My friend says in her consciousness that we are the creations of higher beings in other dimensions. From the human dimension, yes, that would be true. But I said to my friend that we are those higher beings in other dimensions. And the reason why I perceive it that way, from the highest dimensional consciousness possible, is it still makes me the source. It still makes me the consciousness that I am, the creator of my human self, of this earth, this matter. If I take a lower dimensional perspective and see the higher dimensional beings as other from myself, then I am back to having overlords. I'm back to having demiurges that rule my life, and I am easily manipulated, easily controlled. It's the same as Christianity having this separation in our minds where we say we're not God, we're just humans. And so we are servants and worship a higher being, and we are at the mercy of this higher being. That leads the mind into a mental prison of victimhood and helplessness. With my conscious awareness, it doesn't matter what happens to this human form. Because I don't identify strictly with my human form, but I have the higher source consciousness, I never feel the victim of any circumstance. I never feel at the mercy of someone more powerful or stronger than me. I don't identify as the weak human. I can slip into the dimension that I am the source of all things, and therefore I never find myself imprisoned in the lower dimensions and the lower vibrations of victimhood. You can't do anything permanently damaging to me, to this body, because I am not this body. I'm just using this body. I'm just driving it as a vehicle. The gas in the tank is the consciousness that empowers the vehicle. So with my higher consciousness, I can manipulate my mind. And that's really all it is. That's really all we do here. We do it with religion. We do it with spirituality. And I just choose the truth that will afford me the most freedom in my mind. I choose that as truth which guarantees my mental and psychic freedom. I will never become the subject of any being or manifestation above or higher than myself. Because I am the highest self. I am the highest source consciousness. It's just manifested in limited portion through my human. Does that make sense? Again, I'm only doing this for myself. I am very selfish in that regard, looking out for myself, how I can best traverse this world with the relationships of other human beings in the least conflicting way. And I can only do that by tapping in as the consciousness of Source, in singularity, in oneness, in absolute oneness, and see everything as the same absolute consciousness.